Okay. We knew this day was going to come. I knew this day was going to come when I was pounding the table for him to arrive. Again, we're in year 10 of our show. We're going to celebrate our 10th anniversary next October. We got a lot of time between now and then. But when we first came on the air in 2014, for the first time as a TV/radio simulcast program, the story of the day when we came on the air in October of 2014 was the San Francisco 49ers and how they were looking under Jim Harbaugh and how he was chafing at the gig. Sitting there at 7-7 in the middle of November and December, and I'm sitting here and I'm hearing all these rumors that he's going to go. And there was a rumor maybe he'd go be the coach of the Raiders because he's sure not going to leave San Francisco to be coach of Michigan, which was floundering and in desperate need of his attention. And I was all over that concept when Jim was at San Diego, University of San Diego. So many people say, well, it makes sense that he's a Charger because he played for the Chargers and he coached at San Diego State. No, it was University of San Diego where he was coaching. And I remember being there on the night the Cowboys and the Ravens closed down the old Texas Stadium together, and Jim was on the sideline in full Ravens regalia with John, who I believe was handing it off to Willis McGahee to be one of the many to rumble over the Dallas Cowboys in closing down Texas Stadium with a loss. And I remember Jim running past the set, the NFL Network set, and I just stopped him real quick because he was saying hello to Marshall, who, by the way, just like me, is a freshman on campus in 1986. Jim was my first quarterback. Jim was Marshall's first quarterback as a professional when we were in Indianapolis together. And I said to him, you got to come home. Come home. And he just smiled at me and ran off. And I'm like, all right, I'll take that as a yes. Honestly, that's the way the state of Michigan was. And that was before Jim took the gig in San Francisco. So, I just had always hoped he'd do it, and then he did it. And then the entire time that he was at Michigan, hoping he would do what he was setting out to achieve, which was, as he told me at one point, we need to be dominant. We will be dominant here. He used that word, dominant. We will be dominant at Michigan. He literally told me this in a phone conversation. And I'm like, okay, coach, you go be dominant. And then we saw, obviously, a lack of dominance against Michigan State, that awful, stupid punt. And then Urban Meyer taking charge of the rivalry in a way that Ohio State fans loved to lord over my head. And then the script flipped in 2021. And then, as we all know, 3 consecutive Big Ten, outright Big Ten championships, 3 consecutive trips to the college football playoffs, and eventually, this year, a national championship. And the question was, why would he stay? And, deep down, I hoped, and a lot of Wolverine fans hoped he would stay because he wanted to just be our version of Bo Schembechler. Stay there for 2 decades and win Big Ten championships and go and retire in Ann Arbor with his family. We hoped for that. But this completely makes sense that he would become the Los Angeles Chargers coach today, because he's been kicking tires on the NFL the entire time he was winning Big Ten championships. Mm-hmm. And all of us in Michigan fandom were nervous, like, hey, he's going to leave before he accomplishes the mission. And, hey, how are we going to accomplish the mission if he stays, if he's, say, talking to the Vikings on signing day, as he did 2 years ago? And how is he going to then say, I'm not going to look at anything in the NFL after he comes back from Minnesota, and then sit in his Ann Arbor living room with the new owners of the Denver Broncos? And how are we going to win a championship even if he stays? And then he stays and we won a championship because he's Jim Harbaugh and he does things his own way and he beats to his own drummer, and we don't know where the hell the drum is located. or what the beat is. It's just his beat. And that was part and parcel of rooting for Jim Harbaugh as Michigan head coach. And then this year was a perfect microcosm of all that, with suspensions, not once but twice, beginning and end. And all of that eventually meaning nothing about taking him off the scent of winning it all, which he did. As we found out, beating Nick Saban in his last game at Alabama and then beating Saban's successor in the national championship game. And then deciding that he does, after all, want to finally scratch that itch to add a Lombardi trophy to his case, just like his brother has. And his brother could have two of them 2 Sundays from now, 3 Sundays from now. So it makes sense. Makes complete sense that he wants to leave. And I have no problem with it. Zero problem with it. And there's a personal reason for it as well. And this is something that Charger fans get ready, because he's going to have a sense of tradition and reach out to people from the Chargers past and try and build it as part of the present. He did that. I was honored with me when he asked me in 2016 to be an honorary captain. And I went out there. Brockman, you were there. He let me speak to Team 137. I blacked out while talking to them. You were personally there, watching me essentially black out.
I watched it. It was really cool.
And it was just great to be in Michigan Stadium and be part of the program. And it was a personal thrill for me that I will never, ever forget. And then this past year, remembering these moments, talking to the team, with Jim sort of like beaming behind me there, and reliving my campus days with you and my buddy Paul, and going out for the coin toss and forgetting what Jim actually told us what we should do if we win the toss, and freaking out and hearing the cheer from the crowd. I was talking about this with my son Zan yesterday, and he goes, did you get, and Coop, he's like, did you get cheered, Dad? And I'm like, yeah, it was the loudest cheer I've ever heard. And they're like, really? They're cheering loudly for you? I'm like, no, that's when polite applause is given to you by 110,000 people at once. You know?
A lot of people there.
And I remember going back to the sideline, and Jim was already hands on his knees, leaning over, getting ready for the game. And I'm like, oh, God, did I not do this one job that I have to do as an honorary captain right? About, did I choose which way we're supposed to go properly? Because this is him giving the instruction to me. That's Jake Butt on the left, who's now on the Big Ten Network, telling us what to do if we do at the toss. And I totally forgotten. And then went back. I'm like, oh, no, did I screw it up? And Harbaugh looked straight at me after I walked back, and he says to me, hey, nice ovation. That's what he said. I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't screw it up. And then this year is a lifetime memory for me and every single Michigan football fan, and for him to bring a national championship home and make it happen with a bunch of kids who are mentally tough and great representatives in the community, and be the Michigan men that we want them to be. And I understand about the whole Connor Stallion stuff, and that is going to be part and parcel of anything mentioned to him. I see all these conversations about, what happened that I am absolutely glossing over, because I choose to talk about what this means to me and what he did, and how anybody's like, so are you upset that he left? Absolutely not. Jim Harbaugh, thank you for absolutely everything that you did for Michigan, and you go get what you want, sir. You go get what you want. You want a Lombardi trophy, you go get it. And that's my opinion. There might be some Michigan people out there that are upset that he's leaving. Those who stay will be champions. Well, now you can basically say in this day and age, those who are champions, go ahead, chase your other dreams. And he's included in that. I have no problem that he wants to leave and do this whatsoever. Certainly in this day and age where he's now going to a league that has rules over free agency. When you get the guys under contract, they're under contract. You don't have to sit there and wonder if they're going to transfer portal in year 1 of 4 that you have them. You know what I mean? Like, it's a totally different world. And if he wants to go to the NFL now, you know, with his family and live out here in Los Angeles, then do it. So, thanks for the memories, Jim. And good luck. See you around Los Angeles. See you at the Starbucks down the street in El Segundo, where the Chargers are now moving their facility just down the street from us. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.